Hi ladies, and welcome to the Thrive Chapter Spotlight. Today we are focusing on 1 Kings chapter 16. And in this chapter, the way it starts out, the kingdom of David has now been divided into the northern kingdom, which is called Israel, and the southern kingdom, which is called Judah. In 1 Kings 16, it opens up and we're talking mainly about the kings in Israel. That's at the upper part. And in this chapter, it starts out with a message of destruction. And in chapter 16, verses 1 through 4, it says, "Then the word of the Lord came to Jehu, the son of Hananiah, against Baasha, saying, Forasmuch as I exalted thee out of the dust, and made thee prince over my people Israel, and thou hast walked in the way of Jeroboam, and hast made my people Israel to sin, to provoke me to anger with their sins, behold, I will take away the posterity of Baasha, and with the posterity of his house, and will make thy house like the house of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat. Him that dieth of Baasha in the city shall the dogs eat, and him that dieth in his fields, of his in the fields, shall the fowls of the air eat." So this prophecy of destruction was coming to Baasha the king. He had led his people to worship idols and to sin against God. It was ironic that he was the one God had used to bring judgment and to kill King Jeroboam, who was wicked in God's sight for his wickedness. But he repeated the same sins of Jeroboam. He didn't learn his lesson. He repeated the same sins and even was worse. So when Baasha died, as God had predicted, Elah, his son, became the next king. He ruled for 2 years, and then he was assassinated by Zimri. He was a commander of some of his chariots. So now we have Zimri that's taken the kingship. Zimri then killed the entire royal family of Baasha, even his distant relatives and friends, just like God had said. And in 12 and 13 it says, "Thus did Zimri destroy all the house of Baasha, according to the word of the Lord, which he spake against Baasha by Jehu the prophet. For all the sins of Baasha, and the sins of Elah his son, by which they sinned, and by which they made Israel to sin, in provoking the Lord God of Israel to anger with their vanities." How sad. So Zimri's rule lasted 7 days. But during that 7 days, a lot happened. When the army heard of Zimri's treason and the assassination of the king, they quickly chose another leader, and his name was Omri. Omri was commander of the army, and he served as their king. Immediately, Omri led an attack on Tisra, which was the capital of Israel at that time. When Zimri saw that the city was surrounded and he was captured and doomed, he did an awful thing. He committed suicide. He burned down the palace and he committed suicide. Omri was king for 12 years. He took control and he was king for 12 years. And we learned that he was a capable city builder. And he did great things for his city, but he left God out of his decisions. And he was even more evil than any of his predecessors. So you see how the kings, it's like they repeat the mistakes and the sins of their predecessors and get gradually more and more worse. When Omri died, his son, that you probably recognized his name, came to power, and his name was Ahab. And Ahab, we know, was an extremely wicked king, more wicked than any of the other kings of Israel. And in verses 29, it says, "And in the 38th year of Asa, king of Judah, began Ahab the son of Omri to reign over Israel. And Ahab the son of Omri reigned in Israel in Samaria 22 years. And Ahab the son of Omri did evil in the sight of the Lord above all that were before him. And it came to pass, as if it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, that he took to wife Jezebel, the daughter of Ethbaal, king of the Zidonians, and went and served Baal and worshipped him." So Ahab was wicked, and most of us know of his wife Jezebel and the wickedness that she did, and we also kind of know the story of what's happening, what's coming. So you can see in this chapter, it sets the stage for Ahab. It sets the scene for Elijah, and it sets the scene for God to show himself and reveal himself to his people. So chapter 16 is very interesting and exciting. Now, how does that apply to you and to me today? There's two things that I took away, and maybe it'll be a help to you. Number one, our heart must love and desire to serve God. We must have that desire and let that focus and let that direct everything we do. And number two, you must intentionally choose to serve God. You can't just haphazardly think, oh, I'll do this today or I'll do that tomorrow. No, you have to have a purpose in your heart to want to serve Him. And with that purpose, He will give you direction and joy to your life that you never thought possible. So thank you for joining us today, and I encourage you to visit our other videos and to follow along with us faithfully in the daily Bible reading plan.